I arrived at the hotel just past 4 in the afternoon. The Charleston sun had started to tilt westward, casting long shadows over the resort's white stone steps. Everything smelled of salt-polished marble and citrus-scented lobby candles, the kind of curated warmth meant to convince you that nothing could go wrong here. I stepped up to the front desk with my small navy suitcase, one I'd bought after my last promotion, and handed over my ID. The young man in uniform smiled, typed, waited, then frowned. "I'm sorry, Miss Keating," he said gently. "I don't seem to have a reservation under your name." I blinked once. "Could you check under the Keating family block?" I asked. He nodded, tried again, then leaned slightly forward. "I do see a reservation for Mr. and Mrs. Keating and one for a Mr. and Mrs. Jason Keating, but nothing else. I'm very sorry." Behind me, I heard heels clicking on marble, deliberate, sharp. I knew that rhythm. My sister always made sure people heard her before they saw her. Lauren Alyssa's voice called out, coated in sugar and intent. "You made it. That's surprising." I turned to see her standing in full resort chic sunglasses, perched like an afterthought atop perfectly loose waves. Jason followed behind, scrolling his phone. Neither of them looked surprised. She leaned toward the desk. "Oh, that's right," she said breezily. "I only confirmed 2 rooms, one for us and one for Mom and Dad. Lauren has her own plans, I think." "Don't you?" "Lauren." I didn't respond. Not to her, not to anyone. My eyes searched for my parents across the lobby and found them seated on one of the velvet benches. My father glanced down at his newspaper, pretending to read. My mother was smoothing her skirt. There it was. The moment everyone agreed without saying a word that I didn't belong. I turned back to the front desk. "It's fine," I said softly. "Please cancel the spa booking under my name." He hesitated but nodded. "Of course." As I walked out into the warmth, the breeze caught my dress, one I had ironed that morning, not because I cared about appearances, but because I thought I might be seen. I paused at the end of the steps and opened my phone. Across the parking lot, I noticed a little figure in pink and tulle watching me from the hotel window. Sophie. My niece. She tilted her head, then pressed her palm to the glass. In my purse, the small silver locket I had chosen for her birthday sat untouched, wrapped in soft tissue paper. I hadn't even signed the card yet. I didn't always expect to be included. Somewhere along the way, I just stopped being surprised when I wasn't. It started small holiday group texts. I was left off photos posted with everyone tagged, but me decisions made while I was on back-to-back conference calls, catching flights, writing protocols. Being forgotten became the air around me, not painful, just expected. I used to think success would change that if I just worked hard enough, made enough, gave enough, they would notice. I was wrong. At 35, I manage a portfolio of clinical trials that affect patients in 5 countries. I speak at conferences. I review NIH grants. I've built a life measured in outcomes, not likes. That was always the difference between Alyssa and me. She lives in the world of curated brunches and sponsored skincare routines. Every holiday is a photo op, every compliment a caption. Her husband, Jason, floats between projects. Their mortgage, private school tuition, their vacations, all underwritten by our grandfather, Walter Keating. Walter never made a show of it. He never said she was the favorite. But he gave her $25,000 a month from a trust fund he controlled. I know this because I helped him restructure his estate last year when he had a health scare. Alyssa hadn't returned a single call from the hospital. I stayed for 3 days, made spreadsheets, coordinated with his accountant, prepared documents. He'd looked at me one evening while I was updating the trust terms and said, "You're the only one who reads the fine print, Lauren. The rest want the ribbon, not the box." I remember I smiled politely, but I felt something unspool in my chest. That moment stayed with me like the taste of tea gone cold, still bitter, even after it's been swallowed. Alyssa used to call me when she was in trouble. Years ago, she begged me to co-sign a second mortgage. I didn't. I sent her financial literacy resources instead. She never forgave me for that. I needed a sister, not a spreadsheet, she said once, slamming the phone down. But what she really needed was someone who could keep paying when the glitter wore off. I wasn't that person. I never would be. I had long accepted that I wasn't who they bragged about. I was the one they tolerated at weddings, mentioned in passing at Thanksgiving, until even that became optional. And this time, they didn't forget to book me a room. They chose not to. Outside the inn, the air had cooled. The breeze carried that unmistakable late fall scent, damp leaves, distant smoke, and something faintly sweet, like memories you almost remember. I walked a short loop around the garden path before heading to my room. There was no point lingering in borrowed silence. When I reached the door, I paused. The curtains inside were drawn back slightly, and in the mirror above the desk, I saw my own reflection. Not tired exactly, just settled. Like a book someone stopped reading halfway through and left open on a table. I set my purse down carefully, then pulled out the wrapped locket. I unfolded the tissue paper, smoothed it flat. The locket sat small in my palm, light but deliberate. One side held a place for a picture of Sophie. The other I'd left blank, not out of oversight, out of hope. Maybe one day she'd choose what to put there. I thought of her face in the window earlier, not confused, not upset, just watching. Kids always know when something's off, even if the adults pretend otherwise. The hotel room, I didn't get the seat at the table they didn't save. That wasn't the real loss. The real loss was simpler, quieter. I was starting to understand something I'd known for years, but never dared name. I hadn't been left out. I'd been edited out a version of family they didn't want in the picture. But the thing about edits, sometimes the lines they cut are the only ones holding the whole thing together. I reached for my phone, not out of anger, not even to be heard, just to speak the truth plainly one last time. I tapped Walter Keating. He picked up on the second ring. "Lauren," he said, voice low, alert. No holiday greeting, just her name. "I have something to report," I told him. "Just the facts." And I began. I checked in. There was no room under my name. I began my voice, even clinical almost. Alyssa told the front desk she only booked for her family herself, Jason and our parents. There was a pause on the line. No gasp, no outrage. Just the slight shift of his breath, like the sound of a chair being pushed back slowly. I continued. Dad and Mom were there. They saw it happen. Didn't say a word. Didn't look at me. I canceled the spa appointment and left. Walter didn't interrupt. I knew he wouldn't. He had always let silence do its work. They were all gathered when I walked out. No one followed. Sophie saw me from the window. My voice caught there just slightly. I cleared my throat. "I'm at a small inn nearby. I'm safe. That's all." More silence. Then finally Walter spoke. "Thank you, Lauren," he said slow and low, "for letting me know." Another breath. "That's enough," he said. "I'll handle it from here." He hung up before I could respond. Not coldly. Just deliberately. I looked at the phone in my hand for a long time. The screen darkened, but I didn't move. Something had shifted. Not in my family. In the air. Walter was many things. Gentle, yes. Generous, almost to a fault. But beneath all that softness lived steel. He had fought to keep the family name clean, the finances orderly, the next generation stable. And in that effort, he had overlooked who truly stood beside him. Until now. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even hopeful. I had simply reported what happened the way I would report a deviation in a clinical trial. Let the data speak for itself. And now? It had. It began with vibrations. My phone lit up with a series of short, sharp tremors, texts, missed calls, voicemail pings, each one stacking faster than the last. I didn't open any of them at first. I just watched the screen, watched the names scroll by. Alyssa, Jason, Mom, Dad. The first voicemail came from Alyssa, voice tight clipped. "Lauren, what did you say to Grandpa? He's being completely irrational. You know how dramatic he gets when he's upset. Call me." The next one was shakier. He froze the accounts. All of them. Jason's card got declined at lunch. He said something about a breach of family dignity. What does that even mean? I still hadn't said a word. By evening, the full message came not to me directly, but to everyone. Walter's email arrived at 7:04 p.m., addressed to the entire family. The subject line read, "Statement of Action, November 23rd. Today, I was made aware of an event which, while small in action, is monumental in meaning. Lauren was excluded from our family Thanksgiving gathering intentionally and without justification. This was not a clerical error. It was a decision, and decisions have consequences. Effective immediately, all financial distributions to Alyssa Keating, Jason Linwood. Alan Keating and Denise Keating are suspended indefinitely. Assets held in joint trust will be reviewed and future allowances are hereby revoked. Let this serve as formal notice. The family name cannot bear the weight of cruelty masquerading as structure. If you no longer remember what family means, you are not entitled to its comforts. I read it twice, once with my head, once with my chest. Walter never used exclamation marks, never raised his voice. His anger was measured in precision, and this was precise. I heard from Jason next. He texted, then called, then texted again. This is a financial disaster. Alyssa says you twisted everything. I need to understand what's happening. Please. From Mom, an email arrived by morning. We could have added another room, but you're so independent. We didn't think you'd mind. Why are you making this into something bigger than it was? And then, this affects our retirement, Lauren. We need that support. Please be reasonable. Each message felt like it was from strangers using familiar names. They didn't ask what hurt. They asked why the consequences were so inconvenient. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Later that night, I scrolled through Alyssa's Instagram. No post, no filtered photo of a perfect table set for Thanksgiving, no grateful caption, nothing. A silence louder than any apology. Over the next few days, the noise got louder before it quieted. Jason's calls came first. He wasn't angry, not like Alyssa. He sounded hollow, as though someone had unplugged the life he thought was his, and the silence was just starting to echo. I didn't know how much we were depending on him, he said in a voicemail I never returned. I thought Alyssa had it handled. I didn't realize we were living on a fuse. By the end of the week, their house was up for sale. A friend forwarded me the listing. I recognized the white marble kitchen island Alyssa used for her matcha tutorial reels. The caption on the site called it turnkey luxury. Ironic. Then came Sophie's school. Private tuition gone. Her name removed from the newsletter. Alyssa posted a cryptic story on her Instagram, just a picture of a closed notebook with the caption starting over. No face, no voice. Just the void where an audience used to be. From my parents, the language shifted. It started with logic. You're independent now, Lauren. You have your own salary. Surely you understand we depended on that help. Then it moved to guilt. Do you really want us to lose our retirement condo over a misunderstanding and finally something closer to honesty? We didn't mean to hurt you. We just didn't think you needed us. That was the truth, I suppose. They hadn't meant harm. They had just assumed I didn't count. Their dependency was never financial. It was built on the belief that I would never walk away. That I'd always be the reliable one, the silent one. The one who forgave just because she could. But Walter's decision had changed the current. Now they were the ones adrift. One morning, I opened a voice message from Jason. He sounded tired. Older. I found credit cards I didn't even know we had. Alyssa's been hiding balances for years. I thought we had a future. Turns out we just had overdraft protection. His voice cracked slightly near the end. Not from drama, from defeat. I played it once, then deleted it. This wasn't revenge. This was arithmetic. They had built something unstable, and when the anchor was pulled, it simply collapsed. It was just after 8 when the call came. I was sitting on my balcony, wrapped in a wool cardigan, watching steam rise from my mug. The garden below had gone still for the night. Just the distant rustle of wind through bare branches and a street lamp blinking into life. My phone buzzed once, then again. Alyssa. I let it ring. Then I answered. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, she broke the silence. I know you're not going to answer my texts, she said. Her voice wasn't sharp anymore. It had softened in a way I didn't recognize, thinned out by wear, maybe. I didn't think it would go this far. I said nothing. You told him what happened, she continued. And now, everything's falling apart. Jason's furious. Sophie cries every night. My life is unraveling. She paused. I could hear her inhale like she was about to cry, but she didn't. She was holding the tears for later for someone else. You always made me feel like I was less, she said suddenly. Like I didn't belong in the same room with you. I knew you'd never say it out loud, but I felt it every time we were in the same space. So, I made sure you felt small too. I let her words hang in the space between us. Not out of cruelty. Out of clarity. You didn't make me feel small, Alyssa, I said quietly. You made me invisible. She didn't reply right away. Just a sharp exhale. Then, I don't know how to fix this. And finally, I spoke the truth I'd been carrying for years. You're not supposed to fix it. You're supposed to feel it. There was a long pause. A silence, not of distance, but of realization. Then I ended the call. Not in anger, just enough. 3 months passed. Winter came to Boston in waves, first the wind, then the cold that settled in your bones, then the quiet hush of a snow-covered street. I fell into a new rhythm. Morning commutes, lab meetings, quiet dinners alone. Peace doesn't always arrive with trumpets. Sometimes it slips in like the steam from a cup of tea. My name had stopped showing up in their inboxes. The calls faded. The pleading gave way to silence. Even that had weight to it, but I'd grown strong enough to carry it. One morning, I received a letter from Walter. A real letter, postmarked and sealed in his unmistakable handwriting. Inside, a single sentence: clarity costs, but what it buys is priceless. Folded inside was a check not large, but personal. A note said, "For whatever's next." I didn't cash it. I didn't return it. I placed it in my drawer beside the vintage locket, still wrapped in silver paper, still unopened. Sophie hadn't called. Alyssa hadn't written. That part didn't surprise me, but what came next did. Late one afternoon, as I was reviewing trial data from the West Coast team, my phone buzzed with a text. The number was unfamiliar. The message was simple. "Aunt Lauren, do you still have that necklace for me?" Sophie. Mom let me borrow her phone. I stared at the screen for a long time. Outside my window, the last of the snow had melted into a light drizzle. Across the street, a woman pulled her coat tighter and leaned into the wind. I picked up the locket and turned it in my hand. It felt warmer than I remembered. Or maybe I was warmer now, less afraid of holding things that might break. I wrapped it again, not in the old paper, but in a fresh sheet from my desk drawer. Slipped it into a padded envelope. No note. No explanation. Just a name, an address, and the locket. Before sealing it, I placed one photo inside. A picture of me and Sophie taken when she was 6. Her smile full of baby teeth. My arms wrapped around her like I still believed I'd always be welcome. I left the second slot blank. Someday, maybe she'd find something or someone worth placing there. Have you ever been edited out of the picture only to realize you were the frame all along?